I saved entrepreneurs more than 20,000 hours last year, which is approximately $6 million if we take an hourly rate on average of $300. And I can show you the exact strategy and the systems that they implemented working with our executive assistants to achieve that, so you will be able to do the same. Here's what I discovered. Majority of entrepreneurs from the level of like 200,000 personal income and up, they usually just overpay employees in their own business. I have this amazing client. She's an e-commerce store owner, and she was solopreneur for the whole time. She was the one developing the products, generating all of the content, answering all of the requests from the clients, and so on, without delegating to anyone, which is like huge accomplishment in the first place, like being able to grow business to such a degree without any employees at all. But then when we went through this small exercise that I will present to you in the step 1, she realized that she needs to delegate all of that, because you are wasting your time on the tasks that are way beneath your pay grade. Therefore, you are doing work that someone else should be doing for you. Or another client, an agency owner, he was the one doing all of the calls, all of the prep for the calls, all of the emails after the calls, sending contracts, sending invoices to the client, then launching the strategy for the client, then launching the project in ClickUp, all of these different things. And his actual zone of genius is actually strategy for ads and personal brand. So once he offloaded all of that, once he realized how to delegate and what to delegate and had the right person to delegate it to, he then was able to focus and grow his business much further. The difference between them and the entrepreneurs that are still stuck in their business is because they finally realized how to avoid these 3 deadly mistakes that kill your delegation, and they were able to finally start working on their business, not in it. So let's start with why most of the delegation attempts fail before they even begin. So the first mistake that kills your delegation, that even prevents it from being possible, is the mindset that you have on only I can do this task. For some reason, high-performing entrepreneurs think that the task that they're doing can only be accomplished by them, that the email that they send, the comma that they place, the smiley face they add in the end of the sentence is what actually generates all of the value of their business or builds or destroys it. Therefore, they are holding up to that and are not willing to start delegating this. This is a huge mistake. We don't really know what actually generates all of the value of our business, and therefore we are trying to keep everything together, because I know that if I keep all of the tasks that I'm doing right now the same way they are, I will have the same income, the same clients, the same leads that I have right now, which is like fine. So we are getting in this comfort zone that we are not willing to come out and try to do more stuff that actually moves the needle, that actually generates revenue for our business, that actually drives the interest of our clients, why they're coming to us in the first place. The main concept that you need to implement in your business right now is SO, is standardizing all of the processes that you are doing, is preparing templates, is analyzing what is that you are doing on a daily basis, which we'll cover in a second, and start offloading these tasks, start mapping them out to understand the exact processes that take place in your business. That would allow you to see that, like all of these things that I'm doing right now, I can actually delegate, and I only need to focus on content, on sales, on developing new offers, developing new product lines. That is the reason why we are called Pareto talent in the first place. The Pareto principle stands for 20% of input generates 80% of the output. I bet you there's 80% of the stuff that you're doing right now that you can offload. You don't even have to do it. And the coolest part is this, within this 80%, there is another 80% that you can offload even further. So you can automate, you can delegate, you can eliminate all of that, and then focus only on the core activities. Same goes about the 20% that you're doing. The 20% of your actual work. So imagine again your day 8 hours. Imagine that's like 2 hours of this day is actually what generates all of the revenue that you have. Imagine that you are now not spending this extra 6 hours on the stuff that you shouldn't be doing, but instead you just do more of these 2 hours, so like 4 more times of that, and generate much better results, much stronger revenue for your business, just because that you focus on the thing that actually moves the needle. And the very same principle applies to this 20%. So the 20% that generate 80%, within this 20% there is another 20% that actually drive majority of your growth. Your role as the CEO and the founder is to actually dive deeper in this 20% of this 20% and to find what is your zone of genius and focus just on that. Everything else you need to delegate and automate. Actually, that I'm thinking about that right now, I don't know any entrepreneur that spend just 8 hours a day on their business. Majority of them like 10, 12, 14 hours a day. So yeah, if you're one of them, you definitely will benefit from the step 1 of our delegation framework, which will outline in a second. The next mistake that I see happening with entrepreneurs is micromanagement. This is what kills your delegation, because you are not really delegating, you're still fully involved involved in the process. You are checking how you delegated the task, what you wrote to them, then how they accomplished the phase 2, phase 3, and so on of this particular task or project that you are doing. And therefore, you are thinking to yourself, hey, like it would be just easier for me to do it myself. And then you are killing the delegation again. The problem in here is that you still believe that only you can do that. So even if you told yourself it's not true, you still believe that because you are then going ahead and verifying that somebody else do it exactly the way you would do it. So you are trying therefore to guarantee the output by ensuring that they follow your exact framework or your exact tutorial on that particular task. For the simpler tasks, it's like fine. Like we can define a very detailed SOP, how we reply, use this template, replace this word in here, send on this hour and so on. For the bigger projects, it's just impossible. So the main problem in here is that you need to just let go. You need to leave it be and focus on the output. Don't focus on the process. Don't focus on how a person is doing that. Are they clicking Command T to open a new tab, or they're just clicking with their mouse to open a new tab? Like, who cares? They still done this particular task. So you shouldn't be focusing on that. They will understand how to do it more efficiently. They will understand how to do it better based on your feedback later on. So you will give them the feedback on the output, not on the exact process. While the exact process is very important, this is something that you should not be overseen as a founder. You should be given directions, you should be given resources and the materials for them to learn how to operate more efficiently, but you shouldn't be sitting down with someone and watching their every click to understand if they're doing their job. I have this client entrepreneur that used to verify every comma in the email that their EA sends. So whenever EA was writing emails, entrepreneur would sit down with them and just start giving them a feedback on every single comma, on every single word that EA used and why it's wrong. But here is the truth about all of that. While again, for some entrepreneurs it will be crucial, for majority it will not be driving anything. So it will not change anything in your business. You will still get the same result because probably the person reading this email won't even notice what you were like talking about. So therefore, focus on the actual result. Are we achieving the same results that I was intending to, or are we making something wrong in here? So the mistake number 3 that I see a lot of entrepreneurs making is the silent treatment that they give to their team and their executive assistant by not providing the proper feedback. They might provide corrections, which is a huge mistake. Correction is just saying, hey, you did it wrong, fix this. The feedback is trying to understand why you've done this wrong, what you've done good, and how we can implement a process or some sort of recommendation that will allow us to fix this mistake in the future. Because if your goal is freedom out of the operations, is to stop doing stuff that you should not be doing, then you should be willing to dedicate time towards that. It's the same like building a business, right? You cannot expect just, again, I starting a business and making million the next week, which would be super cool, to be honest. But in majority of cases, you will start slow. You will need to invest time with an end goal in mind. Same goes to the delegation. I know that I don't want to be doing these sort of tasks anymore, so I will invest my time to build a systems, tutorials, and give proper feedback to the person to ensure that long term they will succeed and they will not need me anymore. That will mean that like short term you will still be involved. Short term you will still be the one to give the feedback, you will still be the one to verify the result, and sometimes you will still be the one to jump in and help them do this sort of task. But long term goal is to teach the person and build systems around that, build SOP around that. So then it's not about the person anymore at all. Because once you have a system, let's say on the inbox management, like here is the templates that I use, here's how I reply, here's when I reply, and so on, you document all of that, and then you are not relying on one particular executive assistant or virtual assistant to do that. You can replace the person if need be, right? That's basically the goal of the feedback, is to collect all of that, condense this in a document, and have this ready as your SOP. So these mistakes are the reasons why entrepreneurs never even start delegating or fail into delegation in the first place. Here is the exact system for you and the strategy on how to start delegating properly. So the key point in here is to treat the complete delegation as the project. You need to treat it very systematically. You don't just like let it go and just hope something happens. You need to build a system that will work. What I usually recommend as a step 1 in the delegation process is a full CEO time audit. You need to understand where you spent your time in the first place. What are the tasks that waste your time? What are the tasks that you should not be doing? There is multiple approaches to them. Here is one of them. Imagine that you are working for somebody, for some ultra rich gazillionaire, billionaire, whatever it is, who pays you 10 grand for every hour of your time. And in order for you to get paid by them, you need to report on every single task that you do. The reason I mentioned like $10,000 is because majority of entrepreneurs I know, they will not trade their time like for $300 or $500. They would rather like, pay someone else this like $500 to not do this thing. So imagine that the sum is really exciting for you, that you are getting paid exciting sum of money for each hour of your time. Where you spent your first hour, second hour, third hour of your time, even 15 minutes, track it down to 15 minutes. If you open your emails like 5 times a day, but only for 10 minutes, it's already an hour that you are spending on your inbox. So if you don't think, hey, I'm not spending any time on my emails at all, I'm good, and then you start calculating that, you will realize that you are not good. You're still spending way too much time on that. So start documenting that. You can either use Google Sheet or ClickUp or any other software that would allow you to just log these tasks and the time that you spent on them. With that being said, I will have a dedicated video on the tool that we built for entrepreneurs in particular that allows them to understand where they waste their time. So in here, you just start our free calculator, you choose what best describes you, choose how much you value your time, so how much you make per year, and in here you can just use the estimated hourly value. In majority of cases, I recommend just input like what you would charge somebody to have an hour of your time to pick up your brain on stuff, right? So like let's say $300. Then you jump in and you realistically assess the tasks that you waste your time on. So either it's email management, calendar scheduling, data analysis, bookkeeping, invoicing, social media management, let's say. And then in here you choose how much time you actually spent on that. So throughout your day, is it an hour a day? Is it 2 hours? Is it once a day, three, 4 times a week? Or is it weekly, right? And then calendar scheduling, same, and so on. Once you click that, you will get immediate results. So you will see exactly how much money and time you waste, not per day, but per year on this task, which again, in my case, I just chose several of them. It's 170 grand that I'm wasting, right? And then here we upload what percentage of the work you can upload and how much you will save just by doing that. That little exercise will allow you to understand where you stand right now and what you need to delegate urgently. Like what are the low value tasks? Well, again, they're high value tasks. They're tasks that actually move needles for a lot of businesses. So like sending this email, like an invoice to the client, like, okay, I'm getting paid by this client, so I need to send them invoice because like it's crucial point in my whole process. But can someone else do that? Like, definitely yes. The step 2 of successful delegation is to start focusing on the outcomes, not on the actual tasks that you delegate. I had this client that wanted to launch a book, and they were focusing on every single aspect of the book launch. They were focusing on what is the vendor, what is the book cover, who is designing the book cover, if they again implemented all of the best practices in the actual book, if they coordinated everything with the actual facility to ship the book, and so on. While the goal was just to print a freaking book. It wasn't to go through again all of these different aspects. It was to offload this to somebody else who can take this from them and generate the output that they were looking for. So after I talked with this client, what we ended up doing and what was the successful approach to that, because we finally were able to print an amazing book, is to focus on particular milestones, because this is a bigger project. You can't just focus on the output in here, because what if again the end result is bad. So just focus on the particular milestone. So in this case, what is the book cover? Once book cover is done, this is like number 1. Once the book is edited, this is milestone number 2. Once we have the first sample from the vendor is number 3. And once the book is done is our milestone number 4. So instead of having again daily check-ins and stuff like that on this process, entrepreneur had 4 meetings. In 4 meetings, they were able to print the complete book while delegating that to their executive assistants. EA ran a challenge on 99 designs, gathered the book covers. Once they gathered the book covers, they were able to then work with the editor, provide editor with the raw material. Editor edited everything. Then this EA presented it to their entrepreneur. After that, EA by themselves went through all of the manufacturers, communicated with them, got first samples from them, then sent them all of the other materials, got the whole book and so on. So what I'm trying to say in here is that if you were the one to actually review every particular cover for this book, every particular comma in this editing, you would be wasting your time. You need to focus on the output, and that is where you will be able to successfully delegate stuff. What you need to define for some of these tasks is to focus on the success metrics. So not what exact wording for the customer support email is, but what is the success metric for that. So for example, did they give us 5 stars? response, how quickly we replied to their inquiry, and how many inquiries we got recently. All of this will allow you to understand if the delegation is successful versus understanding how the particular task is being done. And lastly is the feedback loops, is providing clear feedback on the outcomes that you are receiving and ensuring that the person will succeed with the delegation in the future by giving them all of the tools and the feedback that they require in order to move forward. So with the same example that I gave you with this book launch, they still had these calls, these milestone calls, allowing entrepreneur to ensure that they're moving in the right direction. And as we were going through this sync, entrepreneur was given feedback on how they would like to have it done right now and in the future, because chances are they will do another book and they want to document the whole process. So for that, they need to provide feedback, assess how it was done right now and how they should be doing that in the future. If you're working with executive assistant, I think the best practice is to have daily calls because of the involvement of executive assistant. And if entrepreneurs say, hey, I don't have time for that, like, guess what? Delegate more stuff to your EA and you will have time for a 10-minute call, for God's sake. Usually when somebody says that I don't have time to give feedback or I don't have time to have this communication loop, it means that they don't see value in that. So I highly recommend you to understand what is your actual goal, understand if you are delegating the actual things that's important to you. Because if you are not willing to provide feedback, it means that you don't care about the output for that particular task. Thanks to that little system, we were able to offload more than 100 different entrepreneurs and save them tens of thousands of hours of the wasted time, so now they can focus on actually growing your business. The truth is, you are not irreplaceable. You probably are just not organized enough. You probably don't document enough of the stuff that you're doing and don't realize the stuff that you should not be touching in the first place. This three-step system that I just mentioned, this is what will allow you to go from the employee, even though highly paid, hopefully, to a true founder and CEO and focus into working on your business instead of in it. If you're ready to take this leap, start with an audit of your time. Understand better where you're wasting your time and what are the tasks that you should start offloading. I guarantee you will find 20 plus hours a month, if not a week, that you can offload to someone else so you can focus on growing the business. I'll go ahead and attach a link to this quiz down below so you can go ahead and utilize that to understand better where you spend your time. And here is the truth. If you know that you're ready to delegate and you just don't have the right person, jump on a quick strategy call with our team and we will walk you through how you can offload it, what your perfect executive assistant would look like, and we will introduce you to one of our trained and vetted executive assistants within 48 hours after the call. The link to book the call is down below. If you found this video valuable, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like that, and I see you in the next one.